Welcome back to We Play Games. Here we are in our intro to CK3 campaign, playing with Maharaja Frirekr, and we're going to be mostly dedicating this episode to what this man's reign is going to look like, which is going to be technological development. But before we can get in on our technological development, we have managed to navigate our succession. We've been king for a little over 3 years now, but our nephew maintains a position here as the King of Karnata, but his army is tiny in comparison to ours. We are going to go ahead and take this title back. Now, unfortunately for the Kingdom of Karnata, this is occurring at the same time that they're fighting a civil war. Oh, awesome. So we're not currently able to benefit from the Tooth of the Buddha. So sure, yeah, we'll go ahead and embed the Tooth of the Buddha into our axe, and now we have an illustrious weapon. So that's something that you can do when you have some fun artifacts, is you can combine them via events that show up. And so don't ever be disappointed with extra ones. Now we just need to hunt this stupid army down. And this is Banja. This is actually a commander who is loyal to my father. Now, hypothetically, we don't necessarily want to destroy the army of the Kingdom of Karnata if we're going to be using them to conquer elsewhere. But that really it's not going to be what we're going to do here. We're going to take Karnata, we're going to crush this little kingdom over here, invade right along here, and then we'll talk about developing technologies. All right, so now that Frirekr has conquered the Carnatic kingdom, we're going to go around and start raiding people. But while we're doing that, we should talk about technology. So we start in the tribal era, and for most cultures in the 867 start, a pretty large number of the cultures conversely are going to be starting in either early medieval, and a handful even in high medieval in the 1066 start. But because we managed to form this hybrid culture with Tamil down here, we have tons of the tribal innovations, which means that we've managed to progress into the early medieval period. You can only progress into the early medieval period if you are feudal. If you're tribal, then you need to come a way to get out of being tribal. Easiest way to get out of being tribal is either to take a decision that allows you to become feudal, or of course to do a Varangian adventure. Varangian adventures are very powerful, never underestimate them. So when it comes to the actual technologies, there's a couple of different groups of technologies. So there's military technologies available in each age. The military technologies are going to come in a couple of different flavors. There's going to be a siege unit, which is very, very powerful because it is necessary in order to get through that era's fortification buildings. So do not neglect your siege. But probably the most important military technology available in each age is the one that expands the size of your men-at-arms, especially if your economy is large and growing. A large men-at-arms allows you to punch way above weight, because they really are a lot stronger than levies, especially in regards to supply, but they're really handy when it comes to just roughing up your enemies out here. Other really critical technologies, of course, are going to include anything that modifies your movement speed. That's very powerful. And burrs and the military buildings are going to be helpful, but not as critical as getting some of these civic technologies online because of the way technology actually works. So technology is going to be based off of this progress. You have an 88% chance to gain 0.66 progress each month. That's 0.3 base progress and 0.36 because of the average development of Tamil Norse counties. And so having extremely high development in your culture's counties is a way to make it so that you make really quick progress through these technologies. Like, look, we're going to get through communal government in another 3 years, and then we're going to have a development cap of 35, which is going to allow us to continue to grow our development, especially if we follow it up by moving into coinage, which is right now only going to take us 13 years. We can get a lot of technology on the books really, really fast with Frirekr, because not only do we have this high bonus for development, but we also have this massive chance for cultural fascination. So that's what a high learning character does. You don't need every single character in your dynasty to be high learning, because ultimately we are going to run out of things that we can research between the early medieval and the high medieval period if we exclusively focus on high learning characters. Generally speaking, you're going to benefit a lot from having at least one high learning character for each of these ages, just so you can push through your technologies really, really fast. Now, a good reason to want to pick up the Burr's invention, for instance, is to build a duchy building. So duchy buildings are going to be the other thing that we're going to be focusing on with Frirekr. Is we're gonna pick up Murigunda, and then we're just gonna grow our economy a lot. We might not even use, well, maybe we'll use an invasion CB. I don't know. We'll feel it out. But we're definitely gonna take Murigunda, and we're definitely gonna get rich because we have that power. Oh, cool. We gained herbalist. Yeah, we're just gonna have like 50 learning here. Ooh, we could become a witch. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. No, we're not a witch. That was a joke. Disappointed and impious. But the growth, of course, of your development in your capital is going to be dependent on a couple of things. So as I mentioned in the technology section right over here, we do have technologies in each age that increase your existing development penalty cap. You can grow past that cap, but as you get into it, you start hitting this existing development penalty, which slows down your growth on your development. Good way to really juice your development is through something like Industrious in Maratha Kannada, where you just get a flat development growth whenever a building is constructed. You can also get flat development growth via raiding if you are a tribal character, but generally speaking, I think that unless you're going to be staying in location for a very long time, when Fire and Blood comes up, just take their money. Don't bother taking their technology. You can take their technology when you move to their homelands. And now we're going to switch our focus out of the learning lifestyles and into wealth, because we just need money. We need to go into architect. We need to build things. Everything here is going to be great. But part of the other reason that we're going into stewardship lifestyle here is that it gets us down to centralization. And centralization is another really strong bonus because it's going to give us a flat development growth. And so we've managed to get into communal government. Now do note here, sometimes we are moving away from the river in order to siege some high quality territory down. This does mean that we take attrition every time we move into one of these new locations. But it means we can also raid the entire county, and we only have to take one hit in terms of attrition. You know, like, go ahead and just take the entirety of the province, pillage as much as you want. And let's go ahead and bring our loot back home, and then we can see what we can spend it on. Sure, we'll make a new temple holding. Anytime you get one of these events in here that allows you to add a holding on the cheap, generally speaking, I think it's good value. So an important thing to note here is that these territories here around Murigunda are all going to be Telugu. And so we're actually going to want to pick up at least Murigunda here, just so that way we can have control over the mine. Maybe we do that right now. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that right now, because we do have the domain holding open, and this would really dramatically increase the amount of money that we can start pulling in. But once you're in big building mode, my recommendation is to go ahead and use your outliner whenever you're constructing stuff. And this will help you keep an eye on, is my construction done, right? Am I getting close to being able to add a new thing to the queue? Once we're done raising troops to take territory for some reason, we will have tons of cash, like just an infinite slew, because the more that we can raid as a powerful Viking in India, the more that you'll make. All right, so now we have Murigunda under our control. The Kohler Mines is the special building here, the Seam of Diamonds. And so all we need to do in order to really make bank here is go out, plunder some money, bring it back home, and invest it in Murigunda. And so what we'll want to do is we'll actually want to promote the culture there. Now, this is going to reduce the cultural acceptance that we have with Telugu built up. But fortunately, it's already at 55%. And because they're the same cultural heritage that we are, we don't even necessarily need to take extra steps to ensure their loyalty. And so I'm happy to just set that right there. And then we're going to go ahead and unleash quite the punitive campaign against Orissa and Pala, because our alliance there has broken down. So we're just going to form a massive raiding party and burn all of this territory to the ground. It's important to note that there's special kinds of technology. They're cultural and regional technologies. And so we brought cultural and regional technologies from Europe, specifically our Viking technologies of longships, Altings, and Varangian adventurers. But the Tamil also gave us woot steel, elephantry, and bamboo bow, in addition to the normal technologies. And then, of course, there are going to be other technologies that aren't going to be available to us because we haven't met the location requirements. So you can, for instance, learn war camels if you just colonize everywhere that there are war camels, but it's generally easier to just hybridize with somebody that has the technologies you're looking for. All right, it appears that Frirekr's reign is going to be a little shorter than we thought because I just got the pop-up for Know Thyself. We're going to finish this raid here, and then we're going to bring our money back home, and then we're going to set up our son, Scarfathan, to begin his campaigns, but we are going to have communal government, and coinage is going to be making some serious progress. And so our final Norse character here, because we are going to convert. But in the meantime, Scarfathan is going to be a real terror to come across. He's going to conquer as much as we can before we run out. We know we're going to die, so we might as well get mansions online. Don't be afraid to spend your gold on building things that are either going to be getting you A, more gold, B, military advantages that are going to help you. So in this case, we are going to want barracks, simply because barracks and the barracks line are going to be giving bonuses to heavy infantry and spearmen. And basically all of our men-at-arms that are going to be doing any combat are either going to be heavy infantry or they're going to be spearmen. But you can see here in the outliner, or any of our provinces or counties that we're currently building in are going to be filling up like this, and that's just showing us our progress. And then, of course, if we had any tribal territories, for instance, Serper, that begins as tribal, and so in order to develop this county, we had to convert the county for 500 gold. But now we're going to have to construct new holdings. Now, again, we are not going to have an infinite amount of time here, but I think it's okay to go ahead and build a little bit of a territory up. Oh, poor Frirekr really is coming apart here. We've become infirm, and this is in spite of the fact that we were temperate. And of course, one final note here for our civic technologies is that not only do we have these that are focused on our development, but we also have some that are going to be giving us different law types in terms of our succession. If you don't have a way to get around Confederate partition, then you probably need to pick up hereditary rule ASAP. A way to get around Confederate partition, of course, is to just have there we go. Yeah, a way to get around a Confederate partition, of course, is to have an elective succession in place. But even an elective succession is not going to be perfect, as you can see here. We are going to have to bring our brothers back to bear once again. Like our previous succession, with Frirekr, we are way ahead in terms of political power with Scarfathan, and so he's gonna spend most of his reign in the saddle. And so we're gonna talk a lot about warfare with our next Maharaja, and then if everything goes according to plan, towards the end of his life, he's gonna start drifting towards Hinduism, and then either he will convert or he will have his heir raised as a Hindu. But I think that'll be fun, and that'll be our next character here in our Intro to CK3 series on We Play Games. I'm Walker. Take care.